Hello, and you're very welcome to the Faithful Podcast channel. My name is Liam White, and we are back for another live video this evening. We are here to preview the upcoming action in this weekend's Offaly Senior Hurling Championship. We're also going to be looking forward to Offaly's All-Ireland Intermediate Camogie final clash with Kerry, which is taking place this Sunday at Croke Park. I'll be there in Dublin on Sunday. Hopefully there'll be a big crowd of faithful supporters there to support the girls, as well as this is a big game for them, a chance to try and win a first All-Ireland since 2010 in the intermediate grade. So yeah, a big weekend ahead in action in the Offaly Championship. So we're actually going to look at the Offaly Camogie final first. They are taking on Kerry this weekend. It's been a fantastic season really for David Sullivan's side. You know, they won the Division 2A title back a couple of months ago against Derry in that resounding victory in Thurles. They've been on a crazy journey since, really. They lost out against Wexford in the Leinster Championship, and although the performance on the day maybe wasn't the best, the scoreline would suggest that they were on the right track. And since then, it's been a roller coaster of a ride. Losing to Antrim on the opening day, which was a tough result, and against a team that most people would have been predicting probably at the start of season two, if not win the championship, to at least reach the final. And amazingly, they're not even there. It's incredible to think some of the players that they have at their disposal and they're not even there. But regardless, Offaly were the side that took them down. They made sure that they weren't going to be beaten by them two times in the one season. In the semi-final stages, the last day with a 1-point victory, a very closely fought 1-point victory, it has to be said. Look, they're in a fabulous position now to get themselves over the line. They're coming up against a very good Kerry side who maybe haven't had the toughest of games to get through to get to this stage, but nevertheless, they are here. They haven't conceded a goal all season, which has been absolutely remarkable from their standpoint. They're coming up against an Offaly team who, whenever I've seen them this year, they just get a goal within the first 60, 90 seconds of a match, which is absolutely remarkable. You look at some of the results they've got this season. They hit 3-8 against Antrim on their opening day, even though they did lose the game. 3-15 against Meath, 2-14 against Westmeath, 3-18 against Carlow, and 1-16 against Antrim. So their scoring efficiency has been unbelievable this season. Shout out to the Gaelic Statsman who has all the stats for me there. 2-15 an average per game in this year's championship is absolutely sensational. And they're absolutely on the right track. And some of the players that they've had that have been performing really well this season, the likes of Grace Tehan, Mairead Tehan, I think Kate Pilkington as well has been unbelievable. Sharon Shanahan's had a fantastic season as well. There's Faye Maroney as well. There's just been a lot of great performers. Orla Phelan's the captain this year, and I have to say, I think she's been an exceptional captain, and hopefully come this Sunday, she'll be able to climb up the steps of the Hogan stand and bring home the All-Ireland title for the faithful. It's not going to be easy. They are going up against a Kerry side, like I said, they haven't conceded a goal all season, which is a very impressive record. And look, they've had some good results themselves, Kerry have, to be fair to them. Even just seeing them here, they beat Carlow 280 to 3 points. They bet down 13 points to 11. A downside that were a senior side up until very recently as well, which is really impressive. They had a 22-point victory over Kildare, and then they followed it up with a 3-12 to 16-point win over Down in the semi-finals. So they've had a really good season as well. They've got 7 goals and 63 points in just 4 championship games, which is a very impressive record indeed. Look, it has the makings of a very interesting final. I do think we will get over the line. Of course, I am being biased. It is the Faithful Podcast at the end of the day, but I am faithful and confident that Offaly will get the job done this weekend. I think the wide open space will suit the likes of Mairead Tehan. I think it will suit the likes of Clodagh Lahey in the middle of the park as well. Sharon Shanahan. I think Orla Phelan will make great use of it as well out in the wings. So look, I think it's going to be a fantastic occasion. Obviously, you have the Laois Armagh junior final that's on before that as well, in which I think Laois will get over the line in that one as well. I just think with the likes of Amy Collier in your team and Laura Finley and all these players, I think they'll just have too much for Armagh on the day. And then you have the Cork Galway senior final, which I hope it's going to be a close enough contest, but I think realistically you'd probably have to fancy Cork to win that. They are the strongest side in the country at the moment. But nevertheless, my main focus is Offaly and Kerry this weekend. And yeah, look, it's going to be a fabulous occasion. Hopefully there'll be a big faithful support out in Croke Park on Sunday afternoon. And the very best of luck to David Sullivan and his team. Hopefully they'll be able to bring the trophy home. But yeah, so that's the Camogie covered. We're now going to focus on the championship action, which is happening in the Malloy Precast and Environmental Systems Offaly Senior Hurling Championship, which is taking place, ironically, in the next hour or so. There are a couple of games that are happening this weekend, and I will say the work of Offaly GEA to push all the games that were on Sunday back to tonight, last night, and tomorrow as well, to facilitate people to go up and watch the Offaly Camogie team in their All-Ireland final. I think it's exceptional that this has been done. So yeah, with that in mind, we do have the first game this evening, which is Burr against Coolderry. This is a very, very interesting game. It's taking place in Shinrone. It's at 7:15, and I would have to say I probably would fancy Coolderry to get the job done here. You know, they're on a really good run of form at the moment. Two sort of different results that they had against Ballymere and Sir Kieran. You know, against Ballymere, they were very controlling of the game right from the very start, I felt, you know, and they were the better side over the 60 minutes, took their scores really, really well, worked the ball out from the half-back line, especially really, really well, kept the Ballymere forward line relatively quiet throughout the game, you know, or at least quieter than you would expect them to be anyways. And when they had to take their chances, they absolutely did. You know, the likes of Kevin Connolly was working fierce hard, Daniel Miller coming off the bench getting 2-2, you know, Shane Ryan performing well, Owen Burke having a sensational game that day. And then you go to the game that they played against Sir Kieran. I was at that game, and I have to say, I sort of expected it to go the way that it did. You know, Sir Kieran put up a big, big battle to them. You know, it's a local enough rivalry, you know, south of Offaly. So you would expect that. And especially after the way that Sir Kieran played against Burr on the opening day at home, you would have absolutely expected them to come out fighting against Coolderry. And that's exactly what they did. You know, you had Adrian Hines up there who was having a sensational game at full forward. Tom Dooley, who had a good game. Kevin Dunn, you know, all these kind of players who were stepping up to the mark. Luke Kerry was taking frees on the day as well, dispatched the penalty fierce well. So, yeah, look, it was a very interesting game, but it showed a different side of Coolderry. It showed that the first day they can get victories, you know, relatively comfortably and control a game from start to finish, but then they could also win a dogfight, because that's what it was in the end. It was a dogfight. You know, they had to get a couple of scores towards the end of the game to seal the victory. Owen Burke got two unbelievable scores at the end, and you know, he stepped up massively when his side needed it. And you had Connolly's goal at the end as well, which blasted into the back of the net. And yeah, look, Coolderry are just in a good reign of form at the moment. And it's funny with Coolderry, when they get into a bit of form, when they sniff a victory, they are absolutely on it. And yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for Burr to win this game this weekend. Now, saying that, Burr, they got a great opening win against Clarine on the opening night, scoring 31 points. It has to be it can't be underestimated. That is a very, very impressive scoring tally, and especially with Owen Cahill getting 14 points. You know, if he could do that again this evening, it'd be unbelievable. But I just think with Coolderry having the two games, Burr had a bye obviously in the second round, and I just think Coolderry are in just a great reign of form at the moment. It's a ground that would probably suit both teams in Shinrone, you know, nice and tight to a degree, long pitch. You know, I think it has the makings of a very, very good game. But if I did have to edge it, I am going to give it to Coolderry. I think they're going to make it 3 wins out of 3. But it will be a tough, tough game for both sides. Burr could easily come out of this with a victory. You know, I'm not exactly writing them off. I just think Coolderry have a good bit of momentum behind them at the moment. I think their forwards are working really, really well. Their midfield is strong at the moment as well. Their full back line is working really well as well. And it's going to be a big challenge for Burr. Look, they have the players capable of hurting them. They absolutely do. The Owen Cahills of the world, the Ben Millers of the world. Luke Nolan is a very underrated hurler as well. You know, these types of players are more than capable of hurting Coolderry on their day. But if I was to edge it, I'm going to give it to Coolderry. I think they're going to get the job done this weekend, and I think they're going to make it 3 wins out of 3 in the Offaly Senior Hurling Championship. And we're going to move on to the next game that's happening in the next hour, just over an hour's time. Tullamore are taking on Sir Kieran, and for me, I think this has a Tullamore win written all over it. Despite Sir Kieran putting up a good performance against Coolderry the last day, you know, considering that they had to really after the performance that they put in against Burr at home in their only home game as well. Excuse me. I think they will try and put in a bit of a performance tonight in Kinnity, but Tullamore at the moment, I mean, seeing them against Ballymere, I thought they were excellent in that game. They let in a couple of soft goals, but they were unbelievable in that game, really, coming up against the county finalists from last year, you know, and it's more of a predominantly football team, you know, football club. But there's such good work going in behind the scenes at the moment in Tullamore, both at underage and senior level as well. You know, you had Houlihan the last day, I think he got 1-5 from centre forward. You had the two Foxes, who I thought had excellent games the last day. Shane Dooley still able to pop over a couple of frees. Cormac Egan in the middle of the park had a super game. It didn't really happen for Niall Furlong the last day, but it could happen for him this evening. You know, but just overall, I was really, really impressed with Tullamore, and I think they're going in the right direction. I think Shane Hand has done a great job with them so far. You know, they survived Division 1 in the league as well, had a big win over Kinnity a couple of weeks ago. So they're going in the right direction, and I think a big championship win can really, really set them off, and that could come this evening in the form of playing against Sir Kieran. And look, it's unfortunate for Sir Kieran at the moment. I think they probably feel like they could be in a big relegation dogfight. And if they were to lose this game tonight, they will be in a relegation dogfight realistically against probably realistically one of Kinnity or potentially even St. Rynas. You never even know. But yeah, look, it has the makings of a very interesting game. I am going to edge it to Tullamore. I think Tullamore will get the victory. I think they might even get it by 4 or 5 points in the end. And it could absolutely spur them on, kick them on to the next level over the next couple of weeks, because they'll be trying to target to get themselves a knockout stage. You know, there's no question about it. Tullamore have the players and they have the capabilities of trying to get themselves into the knockout stages, you know, into a quarter-final place, you know, and they won't be fearing Bor. They won't be fearing Kildare at all, you know. So a big win tonight could really, really do them good. As for Sir Kieran, if they can get a win tonight, then it's absolutely huge for them. But I am just going to edge it to Tullamore. I think they will get the job done this evening. Moving on to the games tomorrow, we have Belmont taking on Kinnity, and I just think Belmont, the way they're playing at the moment, I think they'll have too much for Kinnity. Kinnity looked very, very poor against Shinrone. Look, they're missing a lot of players, and it's always hard for clubs to, you know, like Kinnity, to try and keep going at senior level, and it's impressive that they have over the last number of years. And look, Kinnity obviously won this game last year, which was a big, big shock back then. But I just think the way Belmont are playing at the moment, they should have beaten Kilcormac-Cloughey on the opening day. They got a big win against St. Ryans the last day. You know, they were unbelievable in that match. David Nally is hurling out of his skin. Flynn at cornerback is having a sensational season so far. Egan, you know, all these players, they're having storms of season so far. And with Kelly to come back into the squad as well, potentially towards the end of the year, it's just, they're in a really, really good spot at the moment. And to get a win here, to be on 5 points after 3 games, which would just be huge for them, you know, to get themselves into the knockout stages of the Offaly Championship, you know, and get themselves back into some bit of a contention and make themselves a contender for the Offaly Championship this year. So, yeah, look, without dwelling on it too much, I think Belmont will win this game comfortably enough. I'd say they could win it maybe by potentially even by 10 points, to be honest with you. But look, Kinnity will give it socks and they will make it hard for Belmont. But I just think that they'll have enough in the tank to get themselves over the line in this game and make it 2 wins and a draw in 3 games. So moving on, the final game of the weekend in the Senior A Championship anyways is St. Rynas versus Kilcormac-Cloughey, and this is a humongous game for St. Rynas, and probably one that maybe they're not looking forward to too much, but I've never seen a situation where St. Rynas could potentially be going out in the group stages of the Offaly Championship. It's incredible to think. You know, growing up, I've always seen St. Rynas either in county finals or at least competing for the championship, getting to semi-finals. You know, the worst you'd see is them getting knocked out in the quarterfinals. You know, they had a team that won 4 titles in the space of 5-6 years. You know, they won in 16. They then did 3 in a row in 19, 20, and 21. And like, they were beaten semi-finalists in the last 2 years as well, only by a couple of points by Kilcormac-Cloughey and Ballymere as well. So it's just incredible to think where they are now. They are going into a bit of a transitional period. They've lost their opening 2 games. The Shinrone defeat would have hurt badly, and then the last one against Belmont at home as well, they just never performed on the day as well. So you'd be hoping from their perspective that there will be a better performance in them against Kilcormac-Cloughey, their age-old rivals, tomorrow evening in St. Brendan's Park in Bor. But with Kilcormac-Cloughey having the likes of Charlie Mitchell back, they'll have the likes of Adam Screeney potentially back as well. You know, all these players back in their setup, you know, and as well as that, Kilcormac-Cloughey would have learned a lot from the draw against Belmont the last day as well, or at least you would hope that they would anyways, from their perspective. And look, it has the makings of an interesting game, but I think realistically you just have to favour Kilcormac-Cloughey at the moment. They're getting players back at the key time, and you know they'll probably have gotten a bit of a kick up the arse about the Belmont draw and trying to kick on from here and try to make sure that they're not as complacent as they were the first day. But it has the makings of an interesting game, but I just don't see anything but a Kilcormac-Cloughey win here, and then that could drag St. Rynas into a relegation battle. That could make it 3 defeats out of 3. They'll have the Kinnity game then left, and that will be an absolutely humongous game. They do not want to get themselves caught in a relegation battle. That's absolutely for certain. And like, you'd be thinking maybe if Luke O'Connor was available, could he change things around? Could Shane Rigney just have one of those games? Could Ben Keneally just have a storming game at in the back line for them? But I just don't see it happening over 60 minutes. I just think Cormac have too strong a squad, probably too strong of a starting 15. And yeah, I'm going to back them to win this game and get themselves up and running for the season in terms of trying to defend their Offaly Championship and try and make it 3 in a row. So that's the Senior A covered anyways. We'll just touch briefly on the Senior B Championship that's happening this weekend. Kilcormac-Cloughey, again, they're playing Cloria Gales this evening. It's a huge game for both clubs. It's a massive, massive game. Both clubs at the moment are on 0 wins out of their opening 2 games. And both in really contrasting circumstances. Kilcormac-Cloughey were well beaten by Lusma on the opening day. Lusma were 100 miles better than Kilcormac. Against Carrigan Riverstown, there was an improvement, but overall, Kilcormac just weren't able to hack the attack of Carrigan Riverstown, it has to be said. But it's understandable. They've lost a lot of players that have won the last 2 championships to the senior race set up this year with all the injuries they've had and everything like that. So it is understandable that a drop-off was going to be eventually happen. For Clodagh Gales, look, they were poor against Carrigan Riverstown the first day. There's no question about that. But then the last day against Clara, I have to say, even with Liam Langton's red card, they looked the much better side over the remaining 45 minutes of the game against Clara. You just weren't. Clara had the 14 men on the pitch, to be honest with you. Like, they were absolutely incredible. Brady at full forward. I still gave him man the match on the day because I said he drags them over the line in that game, really. And had they won that game, they'd have had him to tank, really, to be honest with you. And yeah, look, Conor Doyle's goal at the end, it was a sickener for them, but this is a brilliant opportunity for them now to, put that game behind them and to make sure that they can get back on the high horse now and try and get themselves up and running for the season, because they will have big ambitions to win the Senior B Championship. They want to win the Senior B Championship. They've lost the last 2 finals. They won the final in 21. They know what it takes to win it. They just have to try and find that formula again. And that could come in the form of winning this evening. But they have lost their last couple of games against Kilcormac. So, look, this could be a game that could effectively end one club's hopes of winning a championship this season. And it could spur on and potentially ignite a fire in another team and get their season back up and running. But yeah, look, it has to make it a very interesting game. I will be at that game this evening. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see from both sides for the Senior B game. It could easily be a draw. That's the thing. It could easily be a draw this evening between the 2 sides. But I think if I was to maybe edge it, I feel like Clodagh Gales maybe have just something about them this evening. They are missing Liam Langton due to a red card, which is going to be a massive, massive miss for them. I'm going to stick with a draw. I'm going to stick with a draw for the time being. I'm being boring and I'm probably being very reserved, but I just feel like both sides in a way are maybe equal enough at the moment. And look, it's a big game for both teams. They won't want to lose it. So I'm going to stick with a draw. In the other games that are happening, Lusma are taking on Clara tomorrow night. This is a big, big game. Clara, a big win the last day over Clodagh Gales, winning against Coolderry on the opening day. Lusma got a win against Coolderry the last day as well. Had a big win over Kilcormac in Kilcormac there a couple of weeks ago as well. So, yeah, look, it's going to be a very, very interesting battle between the 2 sides. It is happening in Banagher. The likes of Rory Kelly and Evan Kelly who'll be looking to, spur on Lusma and get themselves over the line and get themselves 3 wins out of 3. For Clara, can they build on now after basically digging out a win the last day? Can the likes of Barry Egan and Conor Doyle and all these guys, get them back on the horse as well and get them up the ladder as well? Because it's been sort of disappointing for Clara over the last couple of years that they haven't even reached the Senior B final. They were back in the final, was it 2022? I think it was. Again, they lost against Tullamore 3-9 to 9 points. And they'll want to get back there again. They'll want to try and win both Senior B championships this year in hurling and football, and they're absolutely capable of it. But yeah, this has the real makings of a very interesting game. I'll be at this game again tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it transpires anyways. I'm going to edge it to Lusma for this game. I just feel like they're winning their games a bit more comfortably at the moment, and they might just have a bit more in the tank, in attack as well to get over the line. I don't feel like maybe like Clodagh Gales the last day, I don't feel like they'll allow Clara away back into a game like what happens in the last day. So I'm going to edge it to Lusma, but Clara absolutely have the capabilities of winning this weekend. It'll make for a very interesting contest, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And the final game in the Senior B Championship this weekend is Coolderry. They're taking on Carrigan Riverstown. I think it has to be said, I think Carrigan Riverstown will continue on their good form. They're one of the favourites for the Senior B Championship this year. And look, in fairness to Coolderry, they put up good fights against Clara and Lusma in their first 2 games, but I just think at the moment Carrigan Riverstown are in a bit of a different dimension to the Coolderry Senior B team at the moment anyways. And yeah, look, I think Carrigan Riverstown, they won the Senior B, they won the intermediate there 2 years ago, and they put up a great showing, I felt, in the Senior B Championship last year, getting to the semi-finals, putting it up to every single team. And yeah, they'll absolutely be gunning to win the Senior B this year. They'll want to get themselves up to Senior A this year. And yeah, look, it's not going to be simple. It absolutely isn't. They can tell you that themselves. But when you have the likes of Cathal King there, when you have Liam Hoare, Caleb Larkin, Peter King, all in their ranks, David Egan as well, Willie Gleeson, Lee Hogan, all these players, Brendan Hochter, Joe Hochter, like they have a very, very talented group of players. The Oakleys as well, they have a very, very talented group of players who'll be well capable of mixing it with the big boys at Senior A. So yeah, look, I'm going to give them the notch this weekend to win this game. Probably wouldn't say comfortably enough, but in a way, good enough to see themselves not have to be stressing too much coming down the home stretch. So yeah, I think Carrick and Riverstown will continue under good form, and they'll get themselves onto 6 points by the end of the weekend. So yeah, look, that's all covered in the senior setup. Anyways, just to briefly mention the games that are happening in the intermediate championship, or some of the results that happened in the intermediate championship. Anyways, last night, St. Rhinus were 116 to 114 winners over Burr. Sir Kieran were 325 to 220 winners over Belmont. And this weekend, we'll see more games in the intermediate championship. Tonight, Balnamere are taking on Shinrone. That is taking place in Balnamere with a 7:30 p.m. throw-in. And then tomorrow, we'll have Drumcullen taking on Shamrocks, which will be a very, very interesting contest considering it's both of their first teams as well. So yeah, and we'll have a load of junior action over the weekend as well, which we're all very much looking forward to. So yeah, look, that's going to be the video for today. Thanks a million to anyone that has tuned in. If anyone's tuned in at all, don't blame me if you haven't. But yeah, look, and that's just a wrap up of the weekend's action that we have to look forward to in the Offaly Senior Championship this weekend. Our very best of luck to all the teams involved in club action this weekend, and absolutely a big best of luck to the Offaly Camogie team in their All-Ireland final against Kerry this Sunday, with throw-in set for 3 p.m. from Crow Park. So thanks a million for watching the Faithful Podcast. Make sure you like the video and check out more. We'll be doing more videos over the next couple of weeks, and exciting times ahead. So yeah, until then, thanks a million for watching, and I'll be chatting to you again very soon.